I'm Ron Westfall, Research Director of Communication Networks at the Futurum Group. And so, yeah, I'm naturally delighted to talk about our primary research. And today, we'll be looking at AI PCs specifically. And to kick it off, I'm going to provide an overview of the Futurum Group. Tom did a great job of talking about some of our different groups. And we already know Tech Field Day, here we are, and all the benefits that flow from it. We're certainly delighted about how the presenters, the delegates, the community all benefit from Tech Field Day, such as Mobility Field Day 13 here today. Tom touched on 6.5 Media, and I will elaborate that we're actually having a 6.5 Summit in mid-June. So please tune into that. That's where we're getting some great insights from folks like Michael Dell looking at why AI is so important to the entire industry. Tech Strong, that definitely deserves a shout out. Our segment today is being streamed on Tech Strong as well. And what Tech Strong brings is the ability to target specific audiences, certainly technical audiences, but they are definitely a capital A amplification capability. So that helps assure that when we deliver content, that it's really getting out there, that the audiences are receiving it. And Signal 65 is our lab. We're excited about that. We're doing lots of great testing with an entire segments of the industry, including the processor guys, the switch guys, the storage guys, et cetera, you name it. And what I'm going to drill down on is Futurum Research and Intelligence. That's where our primary research is housed. And so I will cut over to what we do with our research. It's basically fueling our research and advisory mode. That is, we use primary research across 11 practice areas, AI devices being one, but we also have AI software and tools. We also have CEO, CIO insights. We also do enterprise applications, cybersecurity. So these are naturally the practice areas that are aligning with what our customers are asking for. And so today it's very helpful to look at what we're doing with AI devices. We take our primary research and we combine it with our C-suite advisory capabilities. And that has outputs such as working on go-to-market strategies, developing product development objectives, how to optimize a marketing campaign, and so forth. All right, so let's dive right in. And this is our data from the AI PC study that we completed recently. And naturally, what's important to provide a level set is what are AI PCs? And fundamentally, they are PCs that are integrating dedicated AI accelerators, such as neural processing units or NPUs. And they are really tasked to handling things such as GenAI and machine learning, deep learning, and so forth. And I'll drill down more on that, on what are some of the other requirements and examples of AI PCs. And that I think links to, okay, where are we getting this data from? I think Tom did a great job of pointing out that we are doing our own research. In this case, it's an online research that reached out to 852 enterprise decision makers and influencers. So we have that critical mass. This is, I think, data that we can be very confident about representing what's going on out there. And when we look at the first snapshot that I'm providing, AI PCs by revenue, what we see here is that the laptop market is leading with a revenue of $7.3 billion, or 68% of the worldwide AI PC revenues. And that stands to reason. Most folks purchase laptops, both on the consumer side as well as the enterprise side. But that doesn't leave out the fact that desktops and workstations are definitely categories that are generating their own important revenue streams. And I think what's important to note here is that when you look at the workstation segment, which is 17% of the revenues out there, it's really adhering to the demand out there for high-end computing for AI workload optimization, AI inferencing, as well as a specific categories such as scientific research and professional content creation, such as animation.
Ron, are these numbers, are they encompassing of all operating systems shipped, Mac, Windows, and Linux?
Yes, that's an excellent question. And some, yes. And specifically, the manufacturers that are included in this study include Apple, it includes Dell, it includes HP, Lenovo, Asus, really, the usual candidates. What it does exclude is China. So to be clear about that, it's worldwide except for China and Russia. All right. Now, on the next snapshot here, we're looking at how the market's breaking out by pricing. And I think we understand, why the low end segment, which is defined as below $1,000, has traction, and that is it's budget friendly. It's basically, what many consumers and businesses need in order to, just get on to the internet. But really, the Goldilocks range is in that median range, and that's, the part that is, dominating the market. 64.5% of all revenues is coming within that range. Again, it's across the board. It's both laptops, workstations, and desktops. And yes, the high end is clearly correlating to what I noted about that they handle the most demanding performance thresholds and are dedicated to niche categories such as design teams and so forth. And so that I think is helpful to understand what is going on with the pricing of AI PCs. Okay, next we're looking at revenue by performance. And again, this is something that we found is in high demand. How is this breaking out? And I think one thing that's important to note here, when you're on our Futurum Intelligence dashboard, you can flexibly correlate, okay, I want to know how the performance of this category is connected to, say, the pricing category, the geographic category, and so forth. So it's just an intuitive tool to allow you to use the data the way that you want it. And what we discovered here is that the 20 to 30 TOPS category, or tera operations per second, is the primary one, and that's 96.88%. So clearly, that's the highest demand one. But what we're anticipating is that the 40 to 6 TOPS category, the highest performing ones, the ones that actually meet the threshold that was defined by the launch of the Microsoft Copilot framework, you need 40 TOPS or more. That, I think, is going to grow dramatically. And also, correlating to low cost PCs is the fact the lowest performing ones, they're available in the market below 20 TOPS, but that's something also we're going to anticipate seeing more of as more models hit the market and are geared toward cost affordability.
Ron, I've got a quick question. Looking at the graph that you put up before, where the primary source of revenue in the laptop market was from the 1 to 2K market, which a lot of people would probably consider to be more like the budget or affordable option. Is it that manufacturers are over-speccing the NPUs that they're putting in these machines in the hopes of being able to unlock future revenue from AI software by saying, I'm not going to put the cheapest thing in, I'm going to put maybe the next step up, because then I can kind of maybe charge for, a subscription revenue in the future?
Yeah, excellent question, Tom. And I would say there's certainly the latter is in play. That is, okay, we're setting up the ability to, upsell more AI software capabilities that, again, enable that AI workload optimization, particularly when it comes to AI inferencing, comes to AI edge workloads and so forth. In essence, avoiding having to use the cloud, for anything that can be done locally. And it's just, that fundamental principle. Thus, we're seeing the era of hybrid AI. It's really not a cloud-only proposition or is obviously an on-premise only proposition. It's the blending of the two. But we're seeing increasingly more and more of the workloads being processed at the local and edge level. Also, and I'll touch on this, Qualcomm basically fired up the category. And so that injected a competitive new dynamic that forced, I believe, the pricing down in terms of, let's get AI PCs kicked off. And but we'll see what I touched on, that more diversification of the price ranges as the market matures naturally.
And just to clarify for everybody at home, this is only devices that have a dedicated AI offload chip like an NPU. This doesn't count
Correct.
anything that uses GPUs to do AI work that is not integrated into the system.
Yeah, for this study, that is the correlation. That is how we are looking at the AI PC market. And so, again, it's like the Copilot framework. There are some specific requirements in order to qualify as an AI PC. However, as we all know, it's not unique to the PC market. There are marketing games out there that make it seem like, okay, this is AI PC ready. Sort of like when we saw, 4G capable phones being marketed as 5G phones on, say, the AT&T network. However, the 5G standalone implementation had not actually been delivered. So that's something to be aware of as we're looking at how this market is evolving. All right, and yes, this is having a direct impact on the decision making, at least of enterprises, and that is the fact that we see that 57% of organizations strongly believe that AI PCs are the next evolution of PCs. And as a result, they are looking at over the next 2 to 5 years to really replace their existing PC fleets with AI PC fleets. And so that doesn't deny, if you look at the lower bars, that there's skepticism out there. This is not across the board. It's not an overnight sensation. There are many folks who are registering their skepticism about having to have an AI PC. However, if you are a AI PC manufacturer or somebody who's supplying processors, Jimmy Crack Corn, you don't care because 57% is a pretty remarkable critical mass target. And as a result, we see that this is going to continue driving investment decisions to adopt AI PCs, but certainly the PC manufacturers are going to bet more heavily on AI PCs growing more and more. And to Tom's question about, okay, what is distinct about an AI PC? Well, one thing that is important is that it's optimizing power consumption techniques such as target wake time, which aligns with Wi-Fi 7's energy efficient protocol. So this is tying in, why there's their impact on the Wi-Fi wireless market due to AI PC evolution. And I'll drill down on that more in the next few slides. But also, it's reinforcing the fact that it's the ability to more effectively implement Wi-Fi's WPA3 and O encryption capabilities. And this is something that we anticipate is just going to help trigger implementations of those capabilities with those encryption techniques embedded within the AI PCs that are coming onto the market more and more. All right. And this is important. It's, I think organizations believe, okay, if we're going to have a successful AI journey and that we can deliver proof points that our AI strategy is meeting the bottom line, improving business outcomes, we have to have AI PCs as part of our overall strategy. If we're not already adopting them, then we certainly need to plan on when to adopt them. And so this, I think, is good data as to explaining why it's perception is key. It's AI PCs. Yes, there's the marketing buzz surrounding it, but also there's the reality on the ground that folks are making this a high priority in terms of their ability to support critical applications. And we've seen for example AR, VR having been overhyped before, but we expect that those capabilities with AI PCs will become more mainstream. Already been talking with not only organizations out there, but also the makers, and they're talking about scenarios like a construction sites where AR is now critical to their ability to make construction processes more efficient, improve again the business outcomes and so forth. And likewise with manufacturing facilities, smart factories, and so forth. And I think it's also important to note here, we're doing more research on this as well, that AI PCs correlate to improved workforce experience. And we know that workforce experience is important. It will be interesting to see just how strongly it correlates with improving customer experience, which is always important to the organizations out there. But I think what is making the difference is many of us have already personally have used, GenAI capabilities on our existing laptops, but it's critical for streamlining content creation, for improving data analysis and so forth. In essence, boosting productivity. And that's, part of the answering the question, why AI PCs? Okay, and this is something that we definitely had demand to have a better understanding. It's the recycle calendars out there, and as a result, how can the makers out there better target this, take it better advantage? And one, I think, important takeaway is that 90% of the folks we talked to or surveyed is that they have accelerated their PC refresh cycles to take advantage of AI PC capabilities. And I think it's embedded right there clearly on the chart here. And what's also, I think, fortunate is that it's aligning with the fact that Windows 10 is being sunset later this year. And so that is an added impetus. It's not only about, okay, we need to take advantage of AI PCs, but hey, goody, this is aligning with the fact that we want to upgrade to Windows 11. And hey, with Windows 11, we can definitely support these AI PC capabilities across the organization. And again, it's a heavy focus on being able to optimize AI workloads at the local level. And I think it's also important to note that it will accelerate integration of MU, MIMO capabilities, as well as having on-device, hyper-personalized agentic AI user experiences now becoming just that, more mainstream. So we're really at the front of this. And so I think it's exciting that we're going to see how AI PCs can deliver innovations that have previously been stalled out because of the limitations of previous PC form factors. And yes.
It's not a Wi-Fi question, it's more like a 5G question, but do you know if they're also planning on integrating like 5G natively on those new AI laptops?
The short answer is yes. And we've had conversations, and I could be specific, with folks like T-Mobile, Intel. And the fundamental reason is that connected laptops are becoming more important for organizations that do have top security requirements. And that is, some organizations perceive Wi-Fi as not being the ideal security implementation for their connectivity. So there have become new requirements that you have connected laptop capabilities, 5G specifically. And that includes government agencies, but also contractors with government agencies. We've seen some serious breaches arise, not because of the agency itself, which can certainly happen, but because of the contractor loophole, and where there's I guess you can say more opportunity for enabling a security breach. But the other factors, stand to reason, is just having 5G mobility capability. Where there's no Wi-Fi, wouldn't be great just to have a laptop that you can continue to use using a 5G network. And that is, the drivers. That market has also had its hype cycle, but we're anticipating the AI PCs are going to help lift connected laptops as a specific market segment.
Ron, I've got a quick question about that, because one of the questions that kind of came up is how much of the AI focused things are actually hitting the NPU on the laptop versus being offloaded to a cloud service, cluster type thing. And I know that Microsoft Copilot specifically requires the use of that Qualcomm Snapdragon NPU to do some things, but they also hinted that they were maybe going to release a patch for AMD and Intel machines late last year. Do you see companies like AMD and Intel being able to kind of muscle their way past this desire to put an NPU in everything? Or do you feel like that the coming wave of PC refreshes is basically going to leave them in the dust, and they're going to say, we're not going to backport this because you're going to need to buy a new machine anyway, you might as well wait?
I think you saw my slide deck. Excellent question. I'm going to talk about processor preferences in like the next slide or two.
Okay.
And so I can drill down that more. But the short answer is yes, the AMDs, the Intels are going to have enduring plays in this market, and that they will diversify not just the processor choices, but also the AI PC models and capabilities out there as a result. All right, I won't spend too much time on this one. It's basically reinforcing what we're talking about. Not only are the plans out there ramping up, but also the testing of it. As we can see, 83% are actively testing AI PCs. And I would say virtually almost all of them are going to be planning to do that. And I think a couple of important takeaways is that we're seeing at the front of this are the manufacturing, logistics, also healthcare segments, for the fundamental reason that downtime or errors in those particular areas can have harsh consequences, and thus the emphasis on adopting AI PCs sooner. Also, another important factor here is that with AI PCs, it's better at data protection than what Tom was talking about. Okay, how much is the cloud going to be involved? And to address that here, this is a primary example of where it has to be processed locally for things like HIPAA requirements and, of course, GDPR and so forth. And we're seeing more requirements at the sovereign level that you have to run your cloud within our territory, within our country. But also, we're seeing capabilities such as sovereign SASE being able to support these capabilities so that it's also lifting really the security component there in terms of sovereign SASE becoming more widely implemented with AI PCs. So this is all exciting in terms of, okay, it's creating opportunities not just for the hardware software guys, but certainly for the security folks. And I would like to address now, okay, cloud versus the edge. Yes, the GPU training or the training of AI on GPU clusters happens at the cloud. That has to be implemented there. But increasingly, once that data is trained, it can then be inferenced at the local level, and many of the data processing requirements will become increasingly localized. But at an overall level, it's going to be hybrid in terms of, okay, how can GenAI be optimized? But when it comes to security conscious organizations and so forth, there will be increasing requirements to make all the inferencing done without using the cloud or minimizing the cloud. All right, and here we are, the preferred processor question. And as we can see, Intel continues to have a strong foothold. They're the incumbent, so that stands to reason. But they have a battle on their hands. And if you saw this same chart 5 years ago, it would have been dramatically different. And so this is good news for everybody, consumers, enterprises. This competitive mix is making those price points more competitive. And I think what we're seeing here is that Qualcomm basically infused, with the Snapdragon X offering, really the starting of the AI PC category when it was certified for Copilot Plus. And therefore, they were really, from our perspective, the early market mover, and they gained a competitive advantage in that. Now, AMD and Intel have subsequently come out with their own Ryzen Meteor Lake slash Core Ultra capabilities to address the AI PC market. And but I think what's interesting here is that even though Intel has this advantage, it's becoming more diluted. In fact, what we're seeing here in the breakout is that 19% will be going primarily with AMD, Qualcomm 15%, and Apple with 11% because of their distinct ecosystem. And so this is, I think, something that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. We'll see how successful Intel will be at defending its foothold here. But we're seeing already that the diversification is well kicked off, and we'll see how much of that will play out. All right, tying into specifically Wi-Fi and wireless. And as we know, AI PCs act as powerful edge devices, and that's not just about enterprise environments, but also being able to optimize IoT devices, enabling smart homes and so forth. We see the use cases in these areas as improving if you have an AI PC implementation as an integral part of it. Also, AI PCs are built to enable AI algorithms to monitor and optimize wireless networks in real time. This is something that I believe we're seeing already with the wireless manufacturers and being able to take advantage of these capabilities, many of which were really assessed with great detail in our conversations over the last 3 days. And I think it's also important to note that AI PCs fundamentally will improve latency, again, because of the ability to integrate Wi-Fi 7 capabilities on a native basis, you can say. All right. I touched on the fact that when Microsoft Copilot plus PC framework came out, that really was the genesis for the AI PC category to take off. And as we're now seeing is that AI powered Wi-Fi systems on AI PCs also deliver the ability to improve anomaly detection, identify rogue access points, as well as automate threat responses, remediation, and so forth. And so this is definitely, in that top 3 of, okay, when we adopt AI PCs, what is it going to help us solve? Well, security issues, at least the ones that we know of today. And also, we're seeing that with AI PCs, it can help propagate Wi-Fi system capabilities that take advantage of AI to improve dynamic channel management, application prioritization, efficient device handoffs, and so forth. So this is something that I think is being welcomed by the organizations out there. Also, I think it's important to note that it's having impact across the overall digital ecosystem. That is, Adobe and Zoom, for example, have optimized their applications already for on-device AI. And so I think we're going to increasingly see the benefits of that over not just the rest of this year, but certainly beyond. All right, and here I will wrap it up. Our key takeaways. In sum, on-device is certainly generating more hyper-personalized agentic AI user experiences. And we touched on the use cases, the segments and so forth that are taking advantage of it. Also, it's going to be a lift for improved security and data protection involving certainly wireless and Wi-Fi capabilities. Also, AI will be a friend to power management and enhanced RF connectivity. And I think one thing that came out certainly is that when it comes to thermal management, that's vitally important. And so AI PCs will play its role in terms of helping not just the thermal management at the PC level, but organizations that are increasingly looking at their network-wide thermal requirements and how that will help them fulfill their sustainability goals. And yes, to round out answering that question, AI devices do not pull from the cloud nearly as much as previous devices, and as such, that is going to be a major driver for the era of hybrid AI and all the benefits that can accrue to the Wi-Fi and wireless world as a result. So with that, thank you, and naturally jump right in if they have any thoughts or questions.
Just to have a thought with your last statement. I was thinking, we have a lot of Wi-Fi issues, client issues in Wi-Fi. So I don't know if one day we'll be able to use that local AI to improve the way the Wi-Fi driver works and connect the network, better connect to the network, so we can have less Wi-Fi issues. I don't know if it's possible, but.
No, it's an excellent question. Well, the short answer is yes. At least, that is certainly a part of the product development prioritization with folks such as Qualcomm, as well as the major PC manufacturers, certainly Intel, and that is using the AI PC capabilities, the AI specifically, to address the client issues on the device, and quite simply improve the visibility, improve the ability to troubleshoot that frequently troublesome area.
Kind of add on to that is Qualcomm's also pushing their AI chips into the edge devices, like today some consumer APs. Can you address more of the issues of not just the PCs, but edge devices will have AI as well. And how are those going to be used?
Yeah, no, they are prioritizing that. We see them, for example, going after industrial innovation as one of their top priorities. That is the IoT segment, as well as the automotive segment, as well as consumer AP devices. So we are actually, I would say, impressed with Qualcomm's recent quarterly results that reflect this ongoing diversification. So yes, they will continue to naturally be the primary supplier for premium smartphones and devices similar to the smartphones. But also, yes, they are making, I would say, an effective push into these additional areas to really take advantage of hybrid AI capabilities.
And perhaps they might solve both mine and Francois' questions at the same time. The AI and the AP can talk to the AI and the client and figure out to make it work.
Yes.
And I had kind of a similar question. Do you foresee, so kind of in this idea of self-management of that PC device, instead of that AI processor being used for the applications running in the system, is there a future where they're going to help manage the functions of the system itself?
Right. It aligns with autonomous capabilities. And the short answer from our discussions is that is something that is a goal that is being invested in. We're not quite there today. However, we just have to keep kicking the tires, doing the testing that we touched on here. And I think virtually everybody would be pleased if they have a desktop that could be more self-healing and autonomous and actually having it work the way it's being presented.
You'd mentioned Futurum 65, one of the 65s, the ones doing the lab work. Have you tested these PCs to see if they're hitting those TOPS numbers? Or is that just what comes off their spec sheets?
Yes.
Signals.
For the testing, I don't know about if we've done AI PC TOPS specifically, but I do know that we've done testing of the processors, and we've done testing of switches and storage offerings. And but I will gladly follow up on here is the roster of things that we have tested and is out for public consumption.